Yo, what is going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports here. Today we're going to be talking about Davis Bertans and why the Dallas Mavericks desperately need to move on from his contract. Davis Bertans is a role player for the Mavericks who really needs to be contributing at this point, and he just isn't. The main conversation surrounding the Dallas Mavericks and really the main criticisms that Mark Cuban has been getting is you can't turn Luka Doncic into early career LeBron James, where he puts on these all-time great performances. He's carrying his team night in and night out, putting a significant strain and significant miles on his legs, which with LeBron James that never really caught up to him, but I mean, that is just completely out of the ordinary. You got to figure at some point, Luka Doncic, with all the Euro ball he plays, with all the international stuff he does after the season and in between seasons, with all this high mileage and playing late into the season, playing in the first, second, third round, you got to assume at some point this mileage is going to catch up to Luka, so you need to lessen his offensive role. And so they really need to trade for a player who's going to do that. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not cutting it. Obviously, they let Brunson walk, so they really need a player for Davis Bertans. It's going to be tough. He has a top 100 salary in the NBA, which is absolutely wild for a guy getting 10 minutes per game. He has 4 points per game on 40% shooting, which is absolutely abysmal. I completely understood what the idea was with Davis Bertans. I thought he was a little bit overpaid, but I understood if he can come in there, kind of be 75, 80% of what Kristaps Porzingis was, not so much defensively in terms of the paint defense, but offensively just stretching the floor, kind of that Maxi Kleber role in which he played a couple seasons ago and for the past few seasons for the Mavericks. Had a lot of success in that bubble Clippers series. So with Davis Bertans and him being traded, realistically, you're going to have to trade him to a team that isn't competing right now. So that crossed a lot of role players off the list. You got to trade him to, again, a team that at the moment at least is not in the playoff hunt. Granted, there is a lot of teams still in the playoff hunt, but what I mean by that is they're not a top 8 seed at the moment. You also have to slap at least a first-round pick. I would assume at least 4 second-round picks, a couple second-round pick swaps, a couple first-round pick swaps to even get a solid role player for Davis Bertans. Because at the end of the day, you're trading a guy who's owed $16 million a year for the next 3 seasons, who is basically a fringe NBA player. So you're going to have to give up some significant draft capital. But nonetheless, you just cannot wait another offseason of you guys getting eliminated in the first, second round with Luka Doncic having no help with a guy and Davis Bertans getting a significant amount of money to do absolutely nothing. So I picked 3 players and then 1 wild card who I think is a realistic trade because of the situations on both sides of the spectrum. 2 of which are from the Utah Jazz. We'll get right into them. Malik Beasley is the first player I'm talking about. Malik Beasley, from his Timberwolves days, has gotten better defensively. He's not some high-end defender that you're going to put up with Luka Doncic, but he does have good size. He kind of has 1 through 3 switchability, which is good, which the Dallas Mavericks really, even with good players like Jalen Brunson, they were always lacking that 1 through 3 switchability, which you're going to get with Malik Beasley. He's making $15 million a year, so the salaries pretty much match up. 13 points a game, 36% from 3, which is below what he's been shooting for his career, so you hope he can pick it up. 36% from 3 is not bad. It's about league average. So Malik Beasley, again, he's a guy who doesn't demand the ball in his hand. When I look at Luka Doncic, when I look at LeBron James, these ball-dominant players, you need good off-ball players, and Malik Beasley is a good off-ball player. Utah, they're the 9th seed right now, and they have some players that have really overperformed on their roster, including another guy I'm about to name. So I think it would be smart for them to kind of capitalize on some of the guys underperforming and capitalize on some of the guys overperforming and kind of shake up that roster a little bit. The second player we're going to be getting into is Jordan Clarkson. This would take significant draft capital. This is by far the best player I'm going to be talking about in this video. Man, as a LeBron fan, I am jealous he's not on the Lakers anymore because he's been absolutely balling out. Again, $13 million a year, so the salaries pretty much match. He's averaging over 20 points per game right now on 45% shooting, good efficiency from the three. Man, this would be the dream guard to pair with Luka Doncic. I genuinely cannot think of a better fit that actually makes sense that you can actually go out and do alongside Luka Doncic. And the reason that is because of how good of an off-ball and on-ball offensive player he is. It's a rare skill set in the NBA to be a very good on-ball player, be really good with the ball in his hands. That's why he was always kind of a six-man for every team he was on. But then if you put him in the starting lineup and you put a bunch of stars around him, all of those touches are going to go away. And when you see that out of six men, Lou Williams is a great example of this. Jamal Crawford, this was always the issue with him, is they're not good anymore. They're not good spot-up shooters. They're not good three-point shooters, good moving off of screens. They're not good doing the dirty work, but that's not true of Jordan Clarkson. He's really good in the catch and shoot. He's really good off ball. He can just sit in the corner. He could run the second unit. He could do anything with and without Luka Doncic on the court. Jordan Clarkson genuinely is the main player I'm calling for if I'm the Dallas Mavericks. It would be a dream trade. I think it genuinely would extend Luka Doncic's shelf life in the NBA, and I think it would do wonders for him eventually re-signing with the Dallas Mavericks. Going on to the third player, also a really good player on a fringe kind of 8, 9, 10 seed right now, is on the Portland Trailblazers, Jusuf Nurkic. It's so clear that the formula in Portland straight up is not working. They need to shake up that roster, and they are so stubborn with Anthony Simmons and Damian Lillard, which that duo just does not work at all. Their on-off numbers together and without each other are night and day. They just do not play well together. That's a whole nother topic, though. Jusuf Nurkic is kind of caught in the crossfires here again. So he makes $15.6 million a season, which is basically $16 million a season. The salaries match there. He's averaging 14 points a game, 10 rebounds on really good efficiency. He's always been a very good player, but always significantly underutilized. I get it, his skill set somewhat coincides with Christian Wood, but the thing is, and the reason I think you can play both of those players together, they're both good off ball, they're both good in the post, and they're both good shooters. So you can have whoever you want running the center, whoever you want wanting the power forward. And you know what? Jusuf Nurkic gives you a little bit of more size and power on the defensive end, whereas Christian Wood kind of gets bodied on the defensive end. So this would be a good trade, not only to somewhat bolster your defense. Again, Jusuf Nurkic, not known for his defense, not the best defensive player in the world, but I think he is an upgrade defensively over Christian Wood. And I think he basically offers the same skill set as Christian Wood offensively. But of course, I think Jusuf Nurkic is a little bit more stiff and Christian Wood is more fluid and a better player with the ball in his hand. But Jusuf Nurkic would be a great complement to Luka Doncic and Christian Wood. Now, the fourth player, the last player I wanted to bring up who would be a complete wild card, who I think would be a very fun, interesting trade idea. I think you could basically trade Davis Bertans in a very low amount of capital, maybe a first-round pick and a first-round pick swap, or maybe just 2 or 3 first-round pick swaps, which would be very ideal. And that's Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac is a guy on the Magic who, first and foremost, he's just not in their future plans anymore. I think the Magic have basically moved on. They have a bunch of good young talent, and at this point, Jonathan Isaac, he just doesn't fit into the lineup. They have too many forwards. There's just no place for him on that team. He's really unproven. He played some good stretches of basketball before that catastrophic knee injury that he experienced. Obviously, he really struggled with the rehab process as well. But Jonathan Isaac, you have the potential to get a high-end defender, a guy who you give 30 minutes a game to, 35 minutes a game to, that'd be asking him to do so much. You need to ease him into that, and he probably can't do that until next season. But if you can't find any win-now players for Davis Bertans, take a shot on Jonathan Isaac, because he genuinely is a guy who can end up making an All-NBA second team for defense. He really reminds me of the pairing between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Drew Holiday, in the sense of Drew Holiday just offered that option of guarding the best player on the court every single night, where Giannis Antetokounmpo just started to play that rover role instead of taking the best player on the court every single night. Obviously, Luka Doncic is not even 50% of the defender that a Giannis Antetokounmpo is, but it did wonders for Giannis Antetokounmpo's offensive career when he had a guy really take off the defensive pressure. So if you can get a guy like Jonathan Isaac in there, an all-NBA defender potentially, that would be a really good gamble compared to Davis Bertans getting no minutes.